can't be everything to everyone, or can we? The station that leaves no listener behind, AM 1050 KCAA.
Ladies and gentlemen, he's a child of God, a husband, NRA conservative, radical right-wing supervillain, and Twitter rock star. American by birth, Texan by choice, and a badass by nature. He's the owner of TomO'Halloran.com, O'HalloranMedia.com, and PatriotRadio.net. Please welcome Tom O'Halloran.
There ain't no doubt I love this land. God bless the USA.
Welcome to the Wednesday night edition of Patriot Radio with Tom O'Halloran. I am your host, the same Tom O'Halloran. I'm broadcasting tonight from an underground bunker deep in Arcantana, Brascarado, to educate, irritate, and agitate. And folks, if you ain't agitated by the time I'm done, we need to order you a new set of speakers because you're just not hearing me. If you'd like to join the conversation tonight, please call 888-909-1050. If you'd like to listen to the show by phone, the number is 832-999-1050. You can also listen to the live stream or now watch the live stream video and join the chat room at patriotradioshow.com. Again, my name's Tom O'Halloran. On Twitter, I'm TPO_hisself. My primary blog is TomO'Halloran.com. When you get there, please follow me on Facebook, Spreaker, Twitter, any other social media that you fancy. Also, please follow my editor, Veronica Coffin. She does much of the heavy lifting on the websites these days, and without her doing that, I couldn't do this. Veronica, I appreciate you more than you know. You'll find Veronica's follow button at the bottom of each and every post. We also have our Facebook fan page. You can find it at facebook.com, Patriot Radio Show, and I would appreciate a like from there. I'm on air 3 nights a week, so please be sure to catch the Tuesday night edition yesterday. Go back in time. Every Tuesday, every Wednesday, right here, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. It's Patriot Radio Show with Tom O'Halloran. On Fridays, though, I switch it up. I do something different. I do Jihad on America, where I cover the Islamists in America, who they are, what they want, and why you should be afraid. Each week, we continue pulling back the mask of Islam, looking at what's being done in the name of Allah, both here and abroad. Now, I cover the news about Islam abroad because it's a look into the future of America. What's going to happen here if we allow the cancer of Islam to spread here in the homeland? If you did not catch my show on the Muslim Brotherhood or my show, Islam is not a religion, for heaven's sakes, do yourself a favor, do me a favor, and do America a favor. Find your way to PatriotRadioshow.com. Listen to those 2 shows. Your eyes will be open. You'll never look at an article on Islam or Muslims again and feel the same way. I promise you. Keep abreast of all of my shows. Listen to the live stream as well as archives of any show you may have missed, all at PatriotRadioshow.com. First up tonight, we kick every Patriot Radio Show off with a countdown. I've got a list of 107 impeachable offenses by Barack Hussein Obama. 107 reasons why he could and should be impeached. Each week we cover a few, just to remind you of the things he's done in the past. He's had so many things come up that we tend to kind of let things fall off the radar. Obama, by announcing the date for unilateral withdrawal from Iraq and Afghanistan, thereby triggered the disintegration of the green respect that had been a goal on the training mission. Obama deliberately interfering with elections of our chief ally in the Middle East, Israel, to try to influence the result. Obama, by supplying the Muslim Brotherhood in Egypt with F-16 jets and 220 Abrams tanks. These guys are the sworn enemies of the USA and our chief ally, Israel. Obama, by nominating a Muslim, John Brennan, to be the director of CIA when America is at war with radical Islamic terrorists. By nominating Chuck Hagel, a sworn enemy of our chief ally, Israel, to be the Secretary of Defense. Obama and Holder, by breaking a constitutional law, introducing drone attacks on American citizens. This is unconstitutional. It has always been unconstitutional. In fact, as a senator, he said Bush did not have the constitutional right to detain American citizens without charges and a trial. And here he just kills them. For the past several months, we've heard Obama talking about the illegal aliens coming into the country. He talks about them like they're just Jose and Maria coming over to pick strawberries or asparagus, just a nice family trying to make a better life for themselves. Every show of the Patriot Radio Show, I read through a half a dozen of the real picture, the eye-openings. These are the people that are really coming across. Luis Hernando Garcia, an illegal alien from Mexico, was convicted of possessing with intent to distribute cocaine and marijuana in Brownsville. He was sentenced to more than 11 years. Samuel Navarez, a Mexican illegal, was convicted in Idaho of conspiracy to distribute methamphetamine, more than 24 years in prison. Herman Rolando Sapon, a Guatemalan illegal alien, sentenced in Tennessee to more than 15 years in federal prison for sexually abusing a teenage Guatemalan girl he illegally trafficked across the Mexican border. Mustafa Zico Maganian, convicted in Virginia of conspiring to import heroin from Ghana. He was sentenced to 18 years in prison. Edwin Berganza, a Guatemalan illegal, pled guilty in Maryland to narcotics trafficking and was sentenced to 15 years. These are the people Obama is letting in, and when they get locked up, he releases them into the community. These are the people he releases. Not somebody that just had a little bit of pot on him. He releases violent 16,000 2 months ago, 16,000 hardcore criminal illegal aliens with over 2,000 rapes between them released into the communities. It's a crazy world, folks, and it's getting crazier every year. High school student this week. A high school student was suspended after breaking a class rule. A classmate sneezed, and this vile, evil Kendra Turner, a senior at Dyer County High School, said, "Bless you," to a classmate. Heaven forbid. Break out the stocks, get the whip. She said, "Bless you," to a student, and she's suspended from school. What's it coming to, America? What is it coming to? Okay, we're going to come on this one after the break. A little shuffle here, shuffle, shuffle. We talked about the knockout game for the past several months. Yesterday, 3 incidents of the knockout game in Hackensack, New Jersey, within a 15-minute span. These are typically 8 to 12 black youths sneaking up behind typically a small, defenseless white or Asian woman and knocking them out with one punch. Failing that, they kick and punch until the person is knocked out. In this instance, it's believed that all 3 of these were a single individual. The victims were a 54-year-old man, a 57-year-old man, and I don't have the age on the third one. Anyway, 3 in one 15-minute period. Folks, stay with us. I really appreciate you tuning in. We've got a lot to go over this hour, so stick with us. We're going to pay some bills, and we'll be right back. Thank you.
KCAA.
Tom O'Halloran.
We'll put a boot in your ass. It's an American sea of the red, white, and blue. Of my red, white, and blue.
Welcome back. This is the Tuesday edition of Patriot Radio Show.com. Scratch that. Wednesday edition, right? This is the Wednesday edition. If you're just tuning in, I am your host, Tom O'Halloran. I'd like to say hi to everybody in the chat room. Smokey from Texas, Gulf Dogs, Veronica. I appreciate you guys. It looks like there's a couple more that aren't logged in. A friend of mine on Twitter is listening. Rob, I appreciate you tuning in, brother. Last night we had a special edition, so did something a little off the books. Had a friend of mine, Bill Perryman, called in, and we did a one-issue show. We talked the whole show about the incident over in Missouri, and we're not going to do that tonight. I do want to touch on one thing. Governor Nixon is an absolute idiot. He ought to be recalled from office, tarred, feathered, drawn. I don't know, do you draw him and quarter him, or do you tar and feather him first? This guy is the governor, the chief executive. And he goes on in front of the TV today while the investigations are still going on. We have the state, the county investigations. Now we've got the feds in there. All this mess going on. Everybody's still trying to get all the reports together, correlate the reports with the reality, and try to find out which eyewitnesses are true and which ones are lying. And a lot of the liars started recanting recently. But this idiot goes in front of the people, and he states, 10 days ago, a police officer shot and killed Michael Brown in broad daylight. Since then, the world has watched the community become engulfed in grief, anger, fear, and at times violence. We now have a responsibility to come together and do everything we can to achieve justice for this family. Justice for the family? What about justice? What about just justice? We don't know this family didn't get their justice. By all accounts, what I've read, the reports that I've read, justice was served. You punch a cop in the face and dislocate his orbital socket, break a guy's eye socket. You're going to get shot. I'm sorry. You're going to get killed. I see a fist getting ready to swing at me. Somebody's going to get shot. This doesn't work this way. A governor should have restraint. He should have said, we need to find out what happened. We need to stay calm. And when the facts are out, justice will prevail. There's nothing further to be said by the governor. I'm not there. I'm not the governor. I can say what I want. I can say what I think. But that's what a governor should have said. And shame on him for deviating from that. Across the country, there have been average about 400 times each year that police officers are declared justified in a shooting. FBI doesn't track how many aren't justified, but they do for the justified ones. And a justified one is one that is defined as the killing of a felon by law enforcement in the line of duty. And this number has remained around 400 for the last decade. It hasn't been a large deviance from them. Oh, let's see. Let's talk about Congress for a little bit. We got an election coming up here in less than 90 days. I haven't counted them actually, but I think we're down around 85 days or so. Washington is a mess. The country's a mess. I want to share with you why it's this way. When you send criminals, when you send irresponsible children to Congress, you can't expect them to do right. It doesn't work that way. Now, this list is old. This survey was done about 8 years ago. But at the point it was done, there were 111 members in the House and Senate that have run at least two businesses that went bankrupt, often leaving business partners and creditors holding the bag. 79 of them have credit reports so bad they cannot get an American Express card on their own. But as members of Congress, they get a government-issued American Express card without a credit check. 64 of them have personal financial problems so serious they would be denied security clearances by the Department of Defense or the Department of Energy if they had to apply through normal channels. But again, as members of Congress, these are ignored and they're given the clearances. 31 members of Congress have been accused of spousal abuse in either criminal or civil proceedings. 33 have driving while intoxicated arrests. 34 if you include George W. Bush, but he never served in Congress. So there. 24 of them have been defendants in various lawsuits ranging from bad debt, disputes with business partners, and other civil matters. 9 members have been accused of writing bad checks, even after the check writing scandal in Congress, which resulted in the closure of the informal House bank that routinely allowed members to overdraw their accounts without penalty. These are the people we're sending to Congress. No wonder our budget's into the our deficits into the 17 trillion range. Jeez. We got to start vetting these people. Can they properly run a business? If not, they have no business trying to run a country. Good grief. Federal statistics on black on white violence. Century Federation studies federal crime reports and found significant differences in crime ratio between races, verified by the FBI's NVCS, that's the National Crime Victims Survey, and the Department of Justice, UCR, the Uniform Crime Reports. Turns out, and these are facts, folks, don't be calling and sending me nasty emails because I'm saying these things. I'm giving you the facts. We can debate all day long as to why these numbers are where they are, but you can't deny the facts, okay? Blacks are 7 times more likely than people of other races to commit murder, 8 times more likely to commit robbery. Blacks are 3 times more likely to use a handgun, twice more likely to use a knife. Hispanics commit 3 times more violent crimes than whites, but the statistics are nebulous because sometimes these people are classified as white, so it could be worse. Blacks are 39 times more likely to commit violent crime against whites than vice versa, and 136 times more likely to commit a robbery. 45% of black crime is against whites, 43% against other blacks, and 10% against Hispanics. Now, folks, what we don't need to do is to call Tom a racist because he read facts. What we do need to do, these numbers are startling. We do need to sit down and find out why. What can we do to roll back the clock? I know when the war on poverty was started some 25, 30 years ago, 25% of black babies were born out of wedlock. Now it's about 75%. What we saw in Ferguson is not just people ticked off over a kid getting shot. Whether that was justified or not, we'll leave that at this point for the investigation. But what we do know is a lot of angry people were upset. A lot of that probably comes from being out of work. While the unemployment rate in America is around 16%, 16 to 18%, if you use the real numbers, not the cookbooks that Obama uses, 16 to 18%. For the black youths, it's around 30%. That's a lot of people without the ability to feed their family. Some of it is on them for not trying, not getting out and doing stuff, for not finishing school to make themselves hireable. But some of it isn't. Some of it is just pure economics. I'm out of work, I go start a business. But then I've got job skills. I've got business experience. I know how to do these things. Not everybody does. Oh, race-based hate crime spikes in the D.C. area. 18 race-based hate crimes in 2013. Majority of the victims were white and the majority of suspects black. Not much different than what we had just read. Let's get off of the violence for a little bit. Let's talk about Rick Perry. Governor Rick Perry in Texas indicted. He actually went in for his mugshots yesterday. Got a sharp-looking mugshot. I saw the greatest poster. The picture of his mugshot wearing a Brooks Brothers suit. Got a smirk on his face. And the poster said, "Wanted." Rick Perry for president 2016. And on the side it says, if looking good is a crime, baby, I'm guilty. Well, it turns out the people that were behind the indictment, which we all know is bogus, but the people behind the indictment is the Texans for Public Justice. It's a George Soros-backed organization that donated $500,000 to this organization. He's pumping money down here to throw state elections, to throw Senate elections, everything I can. The guy is a socialist. He's a communist. He's a convicted felon in the UK for insider trading. And now he's just trying to dump all of his billions to throw elections and buy himself a country. Folks, stick with us. We're at the bottom of the hour. We've got a hard stop coming up. We will be back. I appreciate everybody tuning in, and we'll see you in a couple minutes.
KCAA.
Tom O'Halloran, holding the line against tyranny from Washington, D.C.
Welcome back. This is the Wednesday night edition of Patriot Radio Show with Tom O'Halloran. I am the same Tom O'Halloran. If you're just tuning in, please catch my show Friday night, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. My show on Fridays is Jihad on America, where we take on the Islamists, who they are, what they want, and why you should be afraid. I appreciate each and every one of you for tuning in, as I always do. I know there are a lot of choices out there, and I am honored that you picked to come here. NAFTA, the North American Free Trade Agreement, is 20 years old this week. And while some in the government still praise the effects of it, it's mostly smoke, mirrors, and lies. So I'm going to share a few stats with you to show how it's destroying our economy. Not that we need it, because we've got Obama to destroy our economy. And with them, Bill Perryman's listening. Bill, I appreciate you coming on last night. Thanks, brother. So some of the indicators that NAFTA is ruining us. More than 845,000 American workers have been officially certified for free trade adjustment assistance because they lost their jobs due to imports from Mexico or Canada because their factories were relocated. That's almost 1 million people lost their jobs to NAFTA. Overall, it's estimated that NAFTA has cost us well over 1 million jobs. U.S. manufacturers pay Mexican workers a little over $1 an hour to do jobs that American workers used to do. The number of illegal immigrants living in the United States has more than doubled since the implementation of NAFTA. In the year before NAFTA, the U.S. had a trade surplus with Mexico and a deficit with Canada of only $29 billion. Last year, we had a combined trade deficit with Canada and Mexico of $177 billion. One professor estimated that cutting the total U.S. trade deficit in half would create more than 5 million jobs in the United States. Since the auto industry bailout, approximately 70% of all GM vehicles have been built out of the United States. In fact, many of them are now built in Mexico. NAFTA hasn't worked out very well for Mexico either. Since 1994, the average yearly rate of economic growth in Mexico has been less than 1%. Overall, the United States has lost more than 56,000 manufacturing facilities since 2001. 56,000 facilities in the last 13 years. Can you imagine? That's not people, that's facilities. Good Lord. We have fewer Americans working in manufacturing today than we did in 1950, although our population has more than doubled since then. Back in the 80s, 20% of the jobs in the U.S. were manufacturing. Today, only about 9% are manufacturing jobs. Back in 1950, more than 80% of all American men had jobs. Today, only 65% of men have jobs. Because we shipped millions of jobs overseas, competition for the jobs that remain has become extremely intense, and that has pushed downward on the wages. Right now, half the country makes less than $25,050 a year. In '94, only 27 million Americans were on food stamps. Now it's more than 46 million Americans. According to Professor Alan Binder of Princeton, 40 million more U.S. jobs could be sent offshore over the next decade if current trends continue. I would say NAFTA was a colossal failure, folks. What about you? Okay, the Constitution. The Constitution of the United States, as a very high-level reminder, it grants Congress certain enumerated powers. Tells Congress what it is permitted to do. What it is not permitted to do is anything that's not enumerated. Well, things are in the works to change this. The enumerated powers, as the Constitution was written, was military defense, international commerce and relations, control of immigration and naturalization of new citizens, creation of a uniform commercial system, weights and measures, copyrights, patents, some basic stuff. What they never had was control over your family. Yeah, control over your family. You've heard Obama talking. They're not your children. They're America's children. They're our children. This is pure socialism. Well, there's now, and I want you to listen real carefully now. Turn the TV down and listen to these words. Anytime you hear parental rights amendment, you listen real carefully and don't let them just blow it past you. The parental rights amendment that is being pushed through the system is to give you certain rights in raising your kids. Wait a minute. Certain rights? That's like the Constitution gave rights to the federal government. Now they're granting you rights. The kids are your kids. You have all the rights, all the responsibility, all the obligations. In effect, these rights I'm going to read you, the rights they're giving you, means everything else they can take away, and these rights they can take away. What Congress gives you, Congress can take away. They cannot take away our unalienable rights, our right to free speech, our right to arm ourselves. These are unalienable rights that cannot be taken away by Congress. But these coming up rights are rights they want to grant us. Section 1, the liberty of the parents to direct the upbringing, education, and care of their children is a fundamental right. 2, the parental right to direct education includes the right to choose public, private, religious, or home schools, and the right to make reasonable choices within public schools for one's child. Section 3, neither the United States or state shall infringe these rights without demonstrating that it is in government's interest as applied to the person is of the highest order and not otherwise observed. Section 4, the article shall not be construed to apply to a parental action or decision that would end life. Section 5, no treaty may be adopted, nor shall any source of intellectual law be employed to supersede, modify, interpret, or apply the rights guaranteed by this article. That one gets a little bit gritty, a little legalese-ish. But here's what's going to happen. Down the road, that sounded real nice. They're giving us all these rights. Okay, they're putting it in writing that we have these rights. But that's just phase 1. Coming up, the judicial power of the federal courts Article 2 of the U.S. Constitution enumerates the powers of the federal courts. The judicial power shall extend to all classes in law and equity arising under the Constitution, the laws of the United States, yada, yada, yada. Judicial power refers to power of the courts to decide and hear cases. Amendments are part of the Constitution. Thus, federal courts have the power to decide issues addressed by amendments. So here's what it means. The PRA, the Parental Rights Amendment, would transform families and children from matters over which the government now has no lawful authority to matters under the total control of the government. This is evil, my friends. The Parental Rights Amendment is evil. And you're going to hear a whole lot more of this as the months go on. This is evil. They are sneaking in soft, cushy words to make it sound like something that you want. But this makes the PRA a delegation of lawmaking power over families and the children to the federal government. Congress may make whatever laws it pleases pertaining to your children. The executive branch may issue whatever rules or orders it pleases pertaining to your children. And under Section 3 of the PRA, federal judges will decide whether these laws and orders serve the government's interest. If so, you lose. Right now, they have no control. They have no ownership. They have no power over your family unit. You obey federal and state laws, you go happy. You don't abuse your children or family services, and that's another evil bunch of bums. That's a topic for another night altogether. The parental right is a backdoor to take control of your family. They will then be able to tell you it is in the government's interest for your child to go to this school. And you have nothing to say about it. All they have to do is say it is in the government's interest. And it's a done deal. This is evil. Write it down. The Parental Rights Amendment. Do some research. Google it. Go online. Find out the truth about it. Don't take my word. Do some research. Tell me this is not evil. I'd love to have somebody call me back and discuss it sometime in the next week. I just caught on to this today, and blood's coming out of my eyes. The federal government trying to backdoor leverage over my family. Nah, not while I'm alive, my friends. Not while I'm alive. Folks, stay with us. We've got one more set coming up, and we still got an hour's worth of stuff, so I'm going to be talking real fast. I'm going to sound like a legal disclaimer in an advertisement. Folks, stick with us. We'll be right back.
KCAA.
Tom O'Halloran has a not-so-common core spelling lesson for the Obama administration. Ready? There is no K in America.
There's kids that can't pray in school, $100 tanks of gas. I can tell you right now, this country ain't supposed to be like that. No, that ain't my America. That ain't this country's roots. You wanna slam, hold on to Sam, but I ain't letting you. Yeah, I'm mad as hell, and you know I still bleed red, white, and blue. They ain't us, and that ain't my America. Oh no, that ain't my America. No, 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 no. That ain't my America. Oh no.
Welcome back, Patriots. This is Patriot Radio with Tom O'Halloran, I being that Tom O'Halloran. And when I say Patriots, I mean you, anybody that's listening. Because if you're listening because you care about what's going on. I'm not one of those that says Patriots are people that think like I do. If you love America and want to be proud of being an American again. It's been a while since we have been, most of us. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm going to do something tonight that I don't usually do. There are a lot of financial radio shows out there, financial analysts that will tell you the scope of what's happening and stuff. But I found a website today that, while I'm no longer in the market, I'm not an investor anymore. The .com crash kind of took that out of me. I found a website that talks about enough signals of stuff that's coming up that I wanted to share it with you. I'm going to try to keep it a high enough level that it doesn't get real technical and confuse all of us. This is from a column by Michael Snyder. Did you know that a major event just happened in the financial markets that hasn't been seen since the crisis of 2008? Just prior to the last stock market crash, a massive amount of money was pulled out of junk bonds. It's happening now again. But this isn't the only indication that the U.S. economy could be on the verge of a very hard time. Retail sales are extremely disappointing. Mortgage applications are at a 15-year low. And a growing geopolitical storms around the world have investors spooked. Unfortunately, there are now a bunch of signs that this period of relative stability is about to end. The following 14 reasons why the economy's bubble of false prosperity may be about to burst. 1. The junk bond market is just experienced a Six Sigma event. Now, Six Sigma event means something that has a 1 in 500 million chance of happening. An event that is only supposed to have a 1 in 500 million chance of happening. Billions of dollars are being pulled out of junk bonds right now, and that has some analysts wondering if a crash is right around the corner. The last time we saw a bunk John rout of this magnitude was during the crash of 2008. Retail sales have mixed expectations for 3 months in a row. We just had the worst reading since January. Things have gotten so bad that even Walmart is struggling. Same-store sales at Walmart have declined for 5 quarters in a row, and the outlook for the future is not particularly promising. 4-week moving average for mortgage applications just hit a 14-year low, and it's now even lower than it was during the worst moments of 2008. The tech industry is supposed to be booming, but mass layoffs in tech industry are actually 68% ahead of last year's pace. According to the Federal Reserve, 40% of all U.S. households are currently showing signs of financial stress. The home ownership rate has dropped to the lowest level since '95. According to one survey, 76% of Americans do not have enough money to cover 6 months of expenses. Rumblings of a stock market correction have become so loud that even the mainstream media is reporting on it. The civil war in Iraq is out of control, and Obama just announced that he's sending in humanitarian support. And with that, we're also sending in drones and other stuff that he fails to mention, but we see on TV. As a result of the conflict in the Ukraine, the United States, Canada, the European Union has slapped sanctions on Russia. In return, Russia has slapped sanctions on us. And they're a large oil exporter. So gas is going to get expensive. Tough times are ahead, my friend. I've talked to you about inflation for many months now. We're seeing it. We talked last night. The price of beef, the average price of all cuts of beef, is at an all-time high. It's gone up 81% in the last 5 years. Ronnie and I, Veronica Coffin and I, have a network of websites. If you go to TomO'Halloran.com, that is our primary blog. She's the editor. She does most of the posting there. If you look at the very top of the page, there is a intra-site menu. We have 15 other websites that we tie together. One of the websites is her brainchild. It's Prepper Central. Prepper Central. The crash is coming. And if you're not already setting food aside, if you're not already storing up some goodies, go to Prepper Central. Ronnie has a lot of good advice, how to set it aside, even if you're on a limited budget. It's not that difficult. Every week you buy your groceries, buy a little bit extra, set it aside. There's a lot of great tips out there. Things are going to get ugly in the next year, year and a half at the very most. Do what you can to be prepared, because it will get bad. You see the Islamists, the terrorists, they beheaded a photojournalist just yesterday, filmed it, put it up on YouTube. Every time you fill your tank, my friends, you're sending money over to the Arabian countries, to the Middle Eastern oil, to Qatar, Saudi Arabia. Well, we need gas in our cars, right? But it doesn't have to be that way. So about every 4 weeks, well, once a month, I read through this little report. The following companies import oil from the Middle East: Shell, 205 million barrels. Chevron Texaco, 144 million barrels. ExxonMobil, 130 million. Marathon Speedway, 117 million. Amoco, 62 million. This is all money that's going over to the people that are killing our sons, our brothers, our fathers, our sisters, and mothers. You can make a difference just by identifying where the right gas stations are. The following companies do not import any Middle Eastern oil. None, nada, zilch. Buy your gas from Sunoco, Conoco, Sinclair, BP Phillips, Hess, Arco, Maverick, Valero, Murphy Oil. Now, Murphy Oil is Walmart gas. Okay, I get that. And I get the unions thing. I get the products from China. A lot of you don't like Walmart. But the gas is something different. This is the one thing they don't bring in from China. All of their gas is from South Arkansas. It's fully owned and fully U.S. produced. U.S. owned, U.S. produced. And they put a lot of money back into the communities. So pick where you're going to get your gas. Make a difference. It's not picking up the phone and calling Congress. It's the easiest way in the world that you can make a real difference, folks. Okay? Now I get asked on a regular basis, Tom, I saw your website. You put out some great stuff, but what can I do to get involved? I don't know how to blog. Well, there's a lot you can do. First, find a website that you like. Let's take Tom O'Halloran. And folks, it's not about my websites. Veronica does a great job on posting to them, and I'll cover some of the numbers here in a minute. But it's not about that. It's about the action that you do. So if it's not my websites, use somebody else's. But let's say you go to tomohalloran.com. Veronica posts 15 to 20 columns every day, 7 days a week. Read through them. Select 2 articles that move you. Post them up to Facebook. Email them around. Print them out and put them on the bulletin boards. Now, if you look above the banner, you'll see those other websites I told you about. There's one on Hillary Clinton. There's one on gun-free zones. There's one on the gay agenda. There's one on there's a whole bunch of individual ones. Take a look at another website or two. Find a couple of more articles. Post them. We post a ton of information on these websites. And with 140,000 followers on Twitter, we have a lot of readers. But if only 10% of them would post 2 articles every day, and if 10% of the people that saw those did the same thing, then the number of people waking up in this country would grow exponentially. So whether you use my websites or someone else's, get involved. Share articles that you find to be informative. Let others know that you care and you're paying attention to where this country's headed. It's not too late to turn it back around and get her back on track. But at this point in the fight, you're either helping or you're part of the problem. And it's time to take the gloves off and fight for what you believe in. There are a lot of people out there intent on destroying America. Some of them we elected and some of them we didn't. But either we engage the enemy now or we accept that we're willing to turn our country over to our kids and grandkids in a much worse state than we got it. I'm not willing to do that. Good night, America. God bless you and yours. This is Tom O'Halloran. I'm out.